Hi, welcome to the week 2 lecture on leadership styles. I want to start saying the conditions of the 21st century today, is, they're much different than what they were in the 20th century. And I think as a result that negates quite a few of the styles that were more effective in the 20th century. They're less effective in the 21st century. Um, Back as early as 1992, Bryman described new leadership as consisting of transformational, transactional, and laissez-faire. Now, we all know from Bass and Avolio's MLQ that these three are associated together. And matter of fact, they believe that a leader uses all three of these styles, and I agree with that. The transformational style focuses on the big picture. A lot of people would emphasize individual consideration as well. Foresight's important, especially with how dynamic and rapid change is in the 21st century. It's they're motivational. Um, they build commitment to purpose with their people. They're proactive, and really, the higher the level the leader is within the organization, the more they're going to use transformational leadership. Transactional is more of the day-to-day tasks. This is what the first line supervisors are going to use mostly is transactional. Focuses on job assignment and tasks, monitoring performance. It's actually the basis for micromanaging, because when the supervisor is telling someone what to do, when that person already knows what to do, it's over directing or over supervision. So what we commonly call is micromanaging. And once again, it's used at the operational level. And then every leader, regardless of the level, they have tasks that they have to do as well. And we're seeing a higher frequency of this today than in the 20th century. And so it becomes a hands-off leadership. When the leader's doing a task, they're not leading. And so basically laissez-faire is an inactive leadership approach. Now, it's been around forever. Lippitt and Lewin talked about autocratic, participative, and laissez-faire. So it didn't go away. And all leaders do this to some degree. So this makes it a contingency approach. Leaders today need to use all three when the conditions are appropriate. So the level of leadership determines the mix. There's a need for an ethical approach or normative leadership, of which transformational fits in that category. And that's because since Enron, we've had just one event after another of unethical leadership. I just jumped ahead here. Let me see if I can get it back. There we go. Donna Zohar, in her book Spiritual Capital, she described today's business climate as being driven by Newtonian science. It's what she went to describe as survival of the fittest and a ruthless pursuit of competitive advantage. And I love her quote. She said, business is destined ultimately to consume first its own resources and then itself. And she took some time to really explain and make this point, but it's a good point. And it was actually a demonstration of this was in 2008 when we experienced the financial collapse, which some people predicted. Here we are 10 years later, and we're apt to experience this again. She also described three types of capital, and these three types are material, which is the common type that focus on money and material advantage. We hear a little bit about social capital, which is the wealth that makes our communities and organizations function effectively for the common good. This would be corporate social responsibility. And then what she calls spiritual capital, and it's not related to religion. It's related to higher purpose, so shared meanings and values and ultimate purposes. Servant leadership is a leadership approach that focuses on all of these material, social, and spiritual capital. And it values service to others. Servant leadership begins when there's a feeling that you have, that you desire to serve others. And you aspire to lead because you want to serve the interests of others. And those being served by the servant leader grow as persons, become wiser, more autonomous, and are more likely themselves to want to become servant leaders. Some of the characteristics, listening as the foundation of leadership, which is important. Also, that is congruent with mindfulness today. Empathy, healing, addressing the spiritual side of leadership. Awareness, keeping in touch with ourselves and others. Persuasion, beginning with the end in mind. Conceptualization, seeing the big picture. Of course, foresight, plotting the course. Stewardship, being accountable and sharing control. And commitment to the growth of people and building community. A servant leader, the desire to develop and grow. It listens to the strong feelings of the inner self, contemplation, and acting accordingly. So we're seeing some introverted characteristics enter this list. Their servant leader is congruent with their actions and feelings, and their actions are also in alignment with their values. I like Greenleaf's definition for measures of effectiveness. Do those being served by the leader grow as persons? In other words, are they healthier, wiser, freer, and more autonomous? And are they more likely to become servant leaders themselves? And then what is the effect of the leader on the least privileged members of the group? And at the very least, they are not further deprived. And I think that's really important, that if the leader doesn't watch out for the least privileged, then who will? I had some history with situational leadership, which I think is an outstanding model for transactional leadership in Blanchard Training and Development. I've co-delivered training with them when I was an internal consultant, and I've really come to appreciate that model and really how prescriptive it can be. And here recently, in partnership with Barrett Kohler Publishers, Ken Blanchard has really merged servant leadership and transactional leadership, and it's really a nice merger. The servant part of leadership being about vision, direction, and goals, and then the leadership part of servant leadership, and then in other words, the leadership part is about vision, direction, and goals, and then the servant part is about serving people by inverting the pyramid. And if you think about it, the transactional leadership through situational leadership focuses on satisfying the needs of the followers. And that's a pretty powerful formula. Blanchard, he has a new book out called Servant Leadership in Action, How You Can Achieve Great Relationships and Results. I've also listed the sources Of course, I'll post the transcript of this. I have these sources all referenced in there. And let me see, I got one more. Let me get it up there. And Zohar's book too, Spiritual Capital, Wealth We Can Live By. If you're interested in reading more on servant leadership, you might visit their website at greenleaf.org. They do have some good material that's available there. Thank you.